You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking to Merkel. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Thursday, August the 14th. I am your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo today, as breaking down what took place at the joint practice number 2 between the Miami Dolphins and the Detroit Lions. Went a little bit better today for the Dolphins. Not as poorly as it went yesterday. So there's that. We have an update on Chop Robinson. There's a great article out by The Athletic that spoke to Mike McDaniel about some of the problems the team faced last year internally and what he did to fix those problems heading into 2025. And we got some Tyreek Hill news. We have a new offensive tackle on the roster. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about here on today's show. Before we get to that, as always, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor right now. Smash that like button right now, top of the show. Smash the like button. If you're not listening or watching on YouTube, or if you're not part of our channel, go to YouTube, search for Dolphins Talk, subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, put a comment down below in the comments section. Let me know if you agree with what I say. If you don't agree, be respectful and kind, but put a comment and let me know some feedback. Also, this show today is brought to you by Caneswear. Everyone go to the website, caneswear.com, for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you need a Miami Dolphins jersey, hat, t-shirt, hoodie, polo, shorts, something for the house, something for the car with a Miami Dolphins logo on it, caneswear.com is the place to go. If you live in South Florida, go to 2655 South University Drive in Davie. Stop by their store. They got everything there. They also have stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, Miami Heat, Miami Marlins, and all that stuff. But if you're a Dolphins fan, really, caneswear.com should be your first stop on the internet. And treat yourself before this NFL season. Get yourself a new piece of Miami Dolphins apparel. And one last thing real quick, Dolphins Talk Extra. We got a sale going on. If you've heard me talk about this a lot, if you don't even quite know what it is, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can sign up now for $1 a month between now and September 7th. $1. You get access to the bonus podcast, some about the Dolphins, some not about the Dolphins. You get access to a private message board, which is way better than social media. No one's going to rip your head off for having an opinion, and it's less toxic there as well. But you also have access as well to our Fantasy Football League, our Pick'em League, our Survivor Pool League, where we're giving away cool prizes like bobblehead dolls, autographed full-size helmets from former Dolphins players, autographed mini helmets. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. DTX1 is a promo code. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. DTX1 is a promo code. $1 a month. Sample it, sign up for the games, and have some fun with us this season. All right, Chop Robinson. Let's start there. Big scare on Wednesday. Had to be carted off the field. The initial reports were it was a shoulder or arm injury. Seemed like he was holding on to his shoulder and arm, and that's where the injury was. Then Thursday today, when Mike McDaniel spoke to the media, it was none of that. It was a rib injury, and he's going to miss no time. In fact, he was back there practicing today. So the best case scenario, because look, here's the deal, folks. When this stuff's happening in real time, you see what you see. He's on a cart driving off the field. He's holding his arm and shoulder. People are putting two and two together. You got to wait till you get the official update. So in real time, people see cart, they usually think knee or leg. Then they go, well, he's holding his arm or shoulders. Everyone's speculating, and that's where the story goes until there's confirmation. Confirmation did not come till this morning, Thursday morning. It's a rib injury. It's not that serious. He was practicing today. So nothing to worry about. And I know everyone had a good scare yesterday, but it's literally nothing to worry about. He missed no time. So the best case scenario regarding Chop Robinson, it was a 24-hour scare, but it's just a rib thing that was not serious. The Athletic, I think it was Jeff Lowe, great reporter, put out an article. They spoke to Mike McDaniel. Sorry, my phone's going off. They spoke to Mike McDaniel and sort of just, heading into year 4, get his perspective on things. And there's 2 parts to this, which I found very interesting. Very interesting. And that is, after last season, Mike McDaniel asked the team leaders how they can grow, and by they, he means himself included, how they can grow and improve. And one of the things that the leaders on the team told him is he's got to get rid of the distractions. And this is the part Mike McDaniel said that's kind of mind-blowing. Mike McDaniel said on the 2024 roster, 5 players, they were responsible for half of the internal team fines for being late and such. So let's just make up a number. 25 fines. I'm just making up. Could be more, could be less. 25 fines. 5 players were responsible for half of them because they didn't care. They didn't respect the head coach. Now, we know who 3 of them are. Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill, Javon Holland. Who the other 2 are, I don't know. They're no longer on this. Well, Hill's on the roster. We'll talk about that later. The other 2 are no longer on the roster. I think I know who they are. I'm not going to say their names here because I can't confirm it. But look at last year's roster. Look at this year. See who's not here. You can make a probably safe, educated guess. So Miami Dolphins made they made a choice as an organization to move on from said players, except for Hill, which we'll talk about later. And they're also more careful this offseason about which players they signed and which players they drafted. They put more of an emphasis on less on the so-called talent per se. I mean, that still matters, the talent, obviously, but more about who are they as a human? Who are they as a locker room guy? They did a dive into the teams they played for in college or the teams that they played for in the NFL. If we bring them to our locker room, do they have a history of causing trouble? And if the answer is yes, we don't want them. And if the answer is no, then we will consider them. And so they did that. And Mike McDaniel says he feels with a more like-minded roster, those are his words, like-minded roster, he doesn't need to manage his message now when talking in the meeting room to everybody. Meaning in the past, not everyone was on the same page type of deal. Let's just call it what it is. Some guys didn't respect him. Some guys did. Some guys would, not show up on time, show up late and just be lazy. Other guys were very, let's show up, let's do everything the right way. And you're talking to 2 different sets of people essentially. And you have to change the message, but you can't when you're talking to everyone at once. Now he feels with a like-minded roster, with everyone on the same page, he can talk in meetings and everyone gets it type of deal. And, he said that, the guys who are here now, they have stopped tolerating any player that shows up late. So if you show up late now, you don't have to deal with him. You're going to have to deal with your teammates who are taking a more active approach in policing the team. Those are, the quarterback, Zach Sealers, all that. So they're taking a more active approach in handling this stuff in-house. So, that is very telling. And you can read in this one of 2 ways. You can say, well, look, they found the problem, they addressed the problem, and they're handling the problem, so you give them credit for that. The other part of it is this doesn't happen to a lot of head coaches in this league, and that might be a larger problem that, is holding this organization back. That's one thing. The other thing I found interesting is this. Mike McDaniel stopped forcing players to run in practice when they committed a pre-snap penalty. So they're holding a practice on a random day. One guy jumps off sides. One guy has a false start. He would stop the practice, make the guy run, come back. Let's run it again. Same play. And he said the reason he stopped that was twofold. First, he didn't want any unnecessary soft tissue injury. So if you make someone run for a pre-snap penalty and they get hurt on the run, well, that's kind of stupid. It's like he just made a mistake. I don't want to see him get hurt over it. So that was reason one. And the second one is he wants them to practice at full speed all the time, which if someone makes a couple mistakes, which it happens, it's practice, then they got to run like however many times. They come back, they can't run the play at full speed. They're exhausted already, and it's hot. So there's that. He has changed his philosophy on that. Now, some of the players on the team, once again, they're taking ownership of this. And they said so. They're taking ownership and accountability. So someone, if they make a mistake, they're not going to stop the practice, have them run and come back. No, they're going to say after the practice, guys, whether they make mistakes or not, they're going to run. If you make a mistake, you're going to run after practice. But even if you don't, you might jump in with those guys and run anyway, just because it's the right thing to do. So they're running sprints after practice, but that's not because the head coach told them to, Mike McDaniel told them to. It's because the players are holding themselves accountable and they're doing it because that's how you stop the mistakes type of deal. There has to be a punishment. I mean, nothing huge, but there's got to be some sort of a punishment there. So, great article. Check it out at The Athletic. Like I said, Jeff Lowe, I believe, was the author. But those two things stood out. About half the fines came from 5 guys. And that is just so crazy to even think about. And then sort of the changes in the practice here. And I guess the third thing would be who they're signing and bringing in us. That's why, we have spoken about it a lot on this podcast. It's been spoken about a lot on previous podcasts and such about they're very conservative in their approach this offseason. I know people see that and they just run to the defense. They didn't have any money. No, they could have had money easily. They could have redone Zach's deal back in like March and went into the first wave of free agency with like $30 million, and they could have went nuts if they wanted to. They didn't. And part of the reason is they didn't because they're very careful now on who they're signing. Now, that might work. That might not work. I don't know. At the end of the day, this league is about talent. You need the most talented guys on the field to win. You can have a guy who's less talented, but he shows up on time. He's a nice guy. Like, that's great, but is he going to actually help you win games? We'll find out. So they took a more cautious approach. That we're going to see how that works because as I've said before and such, you don't need a 53-man roster of altar boys. It's okay to have 1 or 2 guys who are a little bit out there as long as they, show up on Sunday, produce, and they're not like, in too much trouble or causing too much havoc behind the scenes. Like, that's okay to have a little bit of that. It sounds like the Dolphins want to just flush out all of it, but Hill is still here, which I'll talk about next. So yeah, that is their new approach. And that does now that we look back on what they did in March, April, and May, it's like, oh, now this makes sense because he's letting us in now after the fact of how they viewed things this offseason. All right, let's talk Tyreek Hill. Mike McDaniel says he's holding him out of practice still. He did again today because he has an oblique injury. And those are kind of scary obliques because they can go 1 of 2 ways. They can heal in time, not too long, or if they don't, that'll stay with you for a while. And he says if Hill even tried to practice now, today, he might suffer a long-term injury. So that's why they're holding him out of practice. That's kind of scary on some level, honestly. So I don't know. I mean, the way he said that, and they're usually so buttoned up when it comes to any form of injury, the fact that he actually shared that makes me think this might be, I'm going to say somewhat serious. I'm not going to go overboard here, somewhat serious. So I'm guessing, just guessing, educated guess here, or educated guess, I should say, that we don't see Tyreek Hill till week 1 of the regular season, and he might be very limited in practice or not even practice at all until like the week before the regular season. They're going to, he ain't going to, they had their last practice day with Lions, off tomorrow, preseason game. He ain't playing there. So then next week they do it again with Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to do anything there in a joint practice and then play in the final preseason game. I'd be very surprised unless he does heal from this rather quickly. And I think after that, you'll probably see him practice and then hopefully try and get ready for week 1. So that injury, people thought they were just holding him out just to be careful, which they are, but there is something there, and it's nothing to look past. Also, that same Athletic article, they're reporting, because obviously on Sunday, there was a report from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN that a few teams in the league are monitoring the Tyreek Hill situation in Miami, just waiting for Miami to say, we're ready to trade him, or just waiting for Hill to have a meltdown and say, I want to be traded, or whatever. They're just waiting for word that he can be had. The Athletic in this article reported Miami has no interest in trading him. Now, just because they said it don't mean it's true. Okay, that's one of these things. Just because they said it don't mean it's true. Because here's the deal. Why would Chris Greer say it? Or why would the Miami Dolphins say, yep, we're looking to trade him? And then what's going to happen? Tyreek Hill's going to have a meltdown. He's going to throw a hissy fit. And then you're going to start drama, start chaos for no reason. And I think it was like Pittsburgh didn't tell the world they were looking to trade Minkah Fitzpatrick. Then you wake up one day, check your phone, Minkah's traded. That's how this stuff works. So the fact that the Athletic was told by someone with the Dolphins, we're not interested in trading him. Well, what do you want them to say? They're not going to make it known. So it's the polar opposite of the report of the report on Sunday, but I wouldn't read too much into this one because it's just common sense here at the end of the day. Dolphins lost an offensive tackle, and they signed an offensive tackle. Jermaine Ifedi was placed on IR today with an injury. His season is over. Ifedi just signed here like 10 days ago, and he was god-awful in the preseason game versus the Bears. Now, you can say it's just a preseason game. He was brutal. I could have went out there and played better, I think. So, Ifedi on IR. He's no longer here. They signed offensive tackle, and I'm going to try and say this name. I know I'm going to butcher it. Yadni Kajusti. 2019 third-round pick of the Patriots. He hasn't played in a game since 2022. Just a training camp body. He has pretty much no chance of making this team unless he well, you know what? I shouldn't say that because the offensive tackle depth is so bad. If this kid actually is somewhat competent, he could make the team, but I wouldn't hold your breath. There. Mike McDaniel was asked about Saturday's preseason game. And again, that game's Saturday, 1 p.m. It's not on the NFL Network Live. The only way to watch it is either you live in South Florida and it's there, or you have a subscription to NFL Plus and you got to stream it. It is not on the NFL Network. The final one against Jacksonville is live on the NFL Network. This one's not. So he was asked today prior to practice about who's going to play Saturday and who's not. Mike McDaniel said his plan is to not play any starters versus the Lions on Saturday. So this Saturday's game, you're not going to get like one series from Tua, one series from Achane, one series from Paul, one series from Sabanaya. Like, you're not getting any of that. You're getting straight backups the whole time. That's his plan. And he said he wanted to get all the information he needs out of the starters in the 2 practices with the Lions. Now, mind you, he said that today before today's practice. So maybe something changed. Maybe you see a couple starters like a Savanea or a Grant because they're rookies. They play a series or 2. But don't expect to see many starters, if any, this week. I mean, you're not going to see Waddle or Chopper or Minka or Seal or Tua this week. That's not happening. Maybe some lesser-known guys who start, like, well, someone in the secondary's got to start. So I guess you might see some guys in the secondary. And, you know, I don't know. So, yeah, don't expect to see many starters. This game on Saturday is going to be backup city. All right, before I get to the rest of the show, quick shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, if you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook group, thank you. If you're not and you are on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook group by the great Carlos, run by the great Carlos Hernandez. They got a ton of great content up. They partner with us, and they are fantastic. So please be sure you are subscribed and like to them. It's free. Also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Audible, Podbean, Podchaser, or one of the other hundreds of platforms we're on, subscribe. And again, on YouTube, subscribe. So when a new show drops, you don't miss it. Earlier today on Thursday, we dropped an interview that Marissa did with rookie Miami Dolphins linebacker Eugene Asante. Check it out. It's awesome. Get to know this rookie. So we got that on Friday night, Josh and Aaron with a live Same Old Dolphins show. And then Saturday, myself and Tom with the post-game wrap-up show. And we are in the season where we have shows pretty much every day of the week now. And when we get to the season, we already have the schedule made out. On a 7-day week, we have 8 shows. So 1 a day and 2 on Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. You want to be subscribed for when a new show drops. All right, Dolphins had a practice versus the Lions today. Here's the deal. If you listened to the show last night, I did with Tom, you heard that the practice yesterday with the Lions was a disaster. Everyone who was there, whether all the reporters for the Dolphins, all the reporters for the Lions, just spectators in general who are just, you know, there from media all across the country, said the Lions dominated both sides of the ball. It was not a competitive practice. The Dolphins barely looked like a team. And that was reported yesterday. And it was accurate from everyone who was there. Like, everyone agreed. There's no one like, well, no, everyone agreed it was bad. So today, everyone wants to see, how will Miami respond? They got punched in the mouth yesterday. Are they going to show up and lay down again? Or are they actually going to put up a fight and be, you know, and look like a real team at practice? And I can sit here and say pleasantly that the Miami Dolphins played much better today than they did yesterday. Now, they played much better. if you live on social media or if you're on social media, there are some bad faith actors there that are pumping it up that the Miami Dolphins dominated practice today and they won today and they made the Lions look bad like the Lions made us look bad yesterday. They didn't. They're better today than they were yesterday. Yes. Did they dominate the Lions today? No. And that's what's so toxic about social media. There are some fans on there who are bad faith actors and who just want to grow their own engagement for personal reasons. And they're in their feelings because the Dolphins played bad yesterday and everyone said so. So no matter what the Dolphins did today, I was going to say they were great and fantastic because that's what we do. No, that's not what happened. That's not reality. These people are bad faith actors. They lie to you for their own self-gain. They lie to you for clicks, likes, and for money in their pocket. I spoke to someone who was there today. They said Miami did very well. They were much better than yesterday, but they did not dominate the Lions. So that's real talk right there. That's real talk. Okay, don't fall for the trolls and the bad faith actors on social media who are just, trying to pump you up and just sell you false hope. Either way, that's the truth. Okay. And here's also just a reminder as well. We're talking about practices here. Nothing really matters until week 1 of the regular season. Whether no one's grading Tua or Mike McDaniel based on how well a team practices. If they go out there and beat the Colts 35-10 week 1, that says something. If they go out there and lose to the Colts 27-10, well, that says something too, and that's what we grade them on, and that's what they're graded on, not on these practices. So you don't overreact to what's happening in practice, but you also don't ignore it either, because it does matter on some level. So be happy with the good, don't ignore the bad, and it'll give you an indicator of what this team is and what this Miami Dolphins team is, I think, is a microcosm of the past 2 days. There's some good, there's some bad, and week to week, you might not know what you're going to get because I think the bad can hurt this team. I think the good can help overcome the bad, but it's going to be every week, like I said on Tuesday night with Josh Moser, but a little bit of a roller coaster week to week. You don't know what you're going to get. If this team plays its A game, they're going to be great. If the team does not play their A game and such like that, they're going to struggle to win games. So that's that. Let's get into a little bit more of the practice. Now, it really was a stark contrast from the offense to the defense. Today, the offense was much, much better. It was good, not great. I'm not pumping you up here. It was good day of practice. Tua and Zach Wilson had very good days. Patrick Paul had a good day. The Dolphins wide receivers, especially D. Eskridge, had great days, I even say. The offense overall was pretty good, and it put up a fight. And they actually looked competent, and they had a good day. The defense, on the other hand, not so much. They gave up a lot of big runs. They couldn't stop the Lions' passing attack again. They had almost no pass rush at all. Now, mind you, no Zach Sealer, no Jalen Phillips, but they were pretty bad today on defense, okay? I mean, bad might be strong. They weren't great. Let's just put it that way. So those are the facts. That's not me lying to you to try to get engagement or anything like that. I'm just telling you, offense was pretty good. Other side of the ball was, not great. And that was a practice day. But compared to yesterday, it's like light years better. That's how bad it was yesterday. Again, not hating, just stating. That's the truth. No exaggerations here at all. So, and if you want to see some or want to read what some of the individual plays were, go to the website, and we have a recap of the practice because we have someone on site who feeds us stuff. We have them all, yes. Go to DolphinsTalk.com, and you can actually read what some of the individual plays were. But from, like a 5,000-yard view here, a big picture view. Offense, pretty good. Defense, not so much. And that was today in a nutshell. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to drive this point home. Spoke about this a little bit last night. And again, this is why social media sucks. If you're on social media yesterday and today, all you've seen, and now you're getting some of the reporters jumping in on this too, is fans of the Dolphins fighting with one another. Well, let me start that over. All you're seeing on social media these days are fans of the Miami Dolphins fighting with each other. I'm a better fan than you. You're just negative. You're always positive. Folks, it's cringeworthy. These are grown-ass men. These are adults on their phones, at their laptops, typing this stuff in Twitter. I think they all look dumb and silly. And it's like, if I've said it 100 times, I'm going to say it again now. If you're a fan of the Dolphins, you are allowed to be a fan any way you want. You invest your time and money into this team. You watch and listen to podcasts like this and other Miami Dolphins podcasts. There's a lot of great ones out there. You follow them on social media. You go to games, home and away. You spend the money on the new hats, on the new shirts, whatever. Like, you're allowed to be a fan any way you want. It's your money. This is still America, and there's freedom of expression. And if you want to be overly positive, and I don't care how bad they look, I'm just a fan of the Dolphins, and I'm going to show up every Sunday no matter what. Great, enjoy your life, and if that's how you fan, enjoy it. If you want to be someone who's critical of every move Chris Greer makes, of every play that's called in the game, and God bless you. You know, you pay your money. You've gone 25 years without a playoff win. Be that negative Nancy. You're entitled to. But if you fall into one of those two camps, and not everyone does, but if you fall into the overly positive, toxic positivity, or the overly negative Nancy's, you know, just don't engage with the other side, because you're never going to agree. Just don't engage with them, ignore them, block them, because it becomes tiresome, and you guys are never going to see eye to eye. And for the fans who are like the overly positive, it's like, well, it's like, why do you still even watch if you're always this miserable? And I said this example yesterday. I'm going to say it again. Fans of the Boston Red Sox went 86 years without winning a World Series. Fans of the Cubs went like 104, 102, something like that. But let's just use the Red Sox for an example. 86 years between World Series wins. For 85 years and 364 days, Red Sox fans were the most miserable people on planet Earth. They complained about that team for 85 years and 364 days, whether they lost Game 7 of the World Series to the Mets in 86 or to the Reds in the 70s. They were still complaining and bitching, okay? They got so close. They still bitched because they lost. Then, when they finally won in 04, they celebrated like no tomorrow. That's what being a fan is. You don't quit your team. And if someone wants to be critical and negative to their team, it's like the old saying, I can pick on my brother. You can't pick on my brother. I can pick on my team. You can't. You're not a fan. So let fans be miserable if they want, or let fans be overly positive and just spread, Mike McDaniel's the best. Tua's the best. Everyone's the best. Let them do that. Don't tell other fans how to fan. I know the overly negative fans can be annoying and exhausting on a day in and day out basis. No one's going to argue with you. And I know the overly positive fans that when things go bad and the team loses, they run and hide like cowards. They don't listen to podcasts. They avoid social media. And then all of a sudden they find God. Well, there's more important things to life than football. Both groups are annoying as hell. I get it. But don't tell the other one they can't fan how they want to fan. Okay? That's not right. Anyone can be a fan. If you're a fan of the Dolphins, you can be down the middle, which I like to think I am. Call it like it is. Say the good, say the bad. That's it. You can be overly positive, overly negative, or anything in between on that spectrum. Just don't be the person to say you're a bad fan or why you're rooting for this team still, blah, blah, blah. They're entitled to do anything they want if they spend money, invest time, and support this team. Might not be the way you want them to support it, but they support it in their own way, and they're allowed to. All right, just want to clear it. We'll stop talking about this here, but really, it's been nonstop on social media for 2 days. And it's like, folks, you can't control the way everyone in the fan base thinks. And if you want to be the overly positive one, go for it. God bless you. This fan base needs more of that. But if you want to be the one who's like, we haven't won a playoff game in 25 years, what's there to be positive about? Well, they're not wrong either. I know if you say it every day, it gets annoying. And it does get annoying. But each group can't tell the other one to shut up. All right. That's all for today's show. Thank you for listening. Again, check out the interview Marissa did with Eugene Asante. It's a great interview. Check that out. Also, check out her interview earlier in the week with Matt Miller of ESPN, the Mel Kiper in waiting. He went down pretty much all of Miami's picks in this draft, not all of them, but most of them, and shared his thoughts on Mike McDaniel and Tua and everything. That's a great interview. So check out the Matt Miller one if you missed it. Check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. We got a bunch of new articles up and content that you'll want to read from our writers. And if you're on social media, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, we're everywhere. follow us at Dolphins Talk. And again, YouTube, smash the like button. Smash it right now. Smash it twice if you can. I'm sorry, you can't smash it twice. And also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you for listening to today's show. We'll be back on Friday night, Josh and Aaron, same old Dolphin show. Until then, take care of yourselves. And also, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity. Hey everyone, Mike here from DolphinsTalk.com, and thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to take a second to smash the like button here on this video and also to ensure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We thank you so much for listening, and we know there are a lot of podcast options out there these days regarding the Miami Dolphins and with non-Miami Dolphins podcasts. So we do appreciate you giving us a few minutes each and every day to tune in and listen to all of our shows. Everyone here on staff, thanks you so much. And if you enjoy these shows, also please be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra, our Patreon service at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, where we have bonus podcasts about the Dolphins and some shows not about the Miami Dolphins. We have a private message board. We also have a ton of contests where we give away really cool prizes, and it's all for the low cost of $3 a month. Again, that's patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And also, please be sure to follow the written content we have up on our website. So check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com, each and every day. Once again, thank you again for listening. Take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.